Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, everybody? For those of you that did read through the scan that I had mentioned yesterday, the first part of the main watches section talked about how the time frames in which these first red days and multi-day runners were fading, that time frame in which it happened has been lengthened, and that has played out here on ASST fairly perfectly. You get that multi-day run if you're oversized or looking for it to happen all in one day, and then 1, 2, 3 days later you get a $3 a share fade, and it's been not steady lows, but each day lower than the next, and continues to fail to follow through. And especially once it failed under these 680s, then it was a buck a share straight down. So ASST, nice fade there. Tesla, that breakout there from scan through 295s continues on highs. The SPY continues to gap and grind. This thing is just going nuts. SEP didn't break down. Was in shooting distance, but didn't do it. Pony, multi-day runner, first red day pullback was straight down off the open, and typically these multi-billion dollar market caps have the best panic dip buys, the highest odds. And this thing was straight down for 250 a share. And you started getting some volume come in, and then you get these wicks, and I buy the first candle to make a new high, lock some in. I sold that in two parts. You can see kind of a double arrow there. I had sold a piece and was ideally looking for like 18 plus back into this little consolidation, and it didn't. So I took it all off and took the little scalp. I kind of make a joke because a lot of times I miss front side moves and big runners because I'm just waiting for the short, and the short comes on this, and then I'm just waiting for the long because I missed the short. So I take the little 30 cent a share gain, but miss the $3 fade. Pretty funny. The Vinny continues to fade off. Jeepus continues to chop around, fade off. ASST we touched on. AGMH had some volume come in there again at the end of the day. Right here after close, someone's swiping offers and then it sits back. Seems like there's going to be a PR or something that sends this thing. So I'm definitely not going to take it off radar basically until it's under 5 or 6 cents. Because it looks like somebody is positioning in here. So definitely worth a watch. Zekin, more steady lows. NXTT, this one was a main watch on the watch list yesterday, where we had that same kind of daily setup. But what we didn't get was the intraday price action that was synonymous with those other moves. So once market opened, was straight down. Didn't get any pops and fails versus that red to green level. It did come with that blowout. I believe I was using 350s as a guide, if my memory... Yeah, 350s was the prior top. So I was using that 350s as a guide, and we got that blowout through it. Top, 350, blows out, and then sits back, and then tops at 350 again. So any of these lower highs are a nice little reactive trade on a bigger picture first red day setup. This is just after 11 o'clock when I'm typically off desk. So if this were to have happened off open, really nice setup. Probably would have taken that and reacted to it. But it didn't come during my expected time frame, so I ended up missing this one. But nice fader nonetheless. Looking left here, we got prior resistance and now 2 days of support in this 250, 260 range. If it gets hit under those levels, I think could pull back some more. CTMX continues higher. GRYP. This one here was a bit choppy for my liking. Same kind of thing. Didn't get any pops that failed. Was just straight down off the open. So nothing I'm going to chase. And then just a choppy bounce back. Where like this range here of a 40-cent pull is likely what I would have been looking for on a $1 name. It's pretty decent percentage-wise. So again, didn't set up in a perfect fashion, so ended up just leaving that one be. Devs came back some after hours with a vengeance, so just keeping this one on radar, if you can see here, because a lot of the range on this day to the downside was done after hours, so the daily bar looks like it closed fairly strong, but you can see where the closing VWAP is on that day. It's in like these 80 cents. So all these people, yes, there's some bag holders up here. Again, straight up spike. Plan was into the 110s. Didn't quite get there, but you can see that was the failed fall through spot. So if it starts to build over here, I don't really have an interest in shorting it, but ideally continues to be trappy and maybe get an actual breakout I can trade on something like that. Hey Dawson, INHD, look to you like it could backside bounce. Let me take a look if I would trade it. No, not particularly for me. I don't enjoy one-day failed spikers. I feel like so when there's like on day ones, I feel like there's more longs than shorts. When you get something running for multiple days, I feel like there's more shorts because they're fighting it each day after day after day. Where when you get a one-day move, I don't think there's a ton of shorts. I think they ultimately fail because longs are bagged. And typically that backside bounce comes from either a buy-in or shorts covering and discount buyers coming in from a stock that was just at higher inflated prices. And I feel like that psychology doesn't exist in one-day failed spikers based on the dynamic of that share structure that I just explained. So I don't think there's a ton of meat on this for a bounce trade. The only trade I really have on these on the backside of these failed spikers is like a VWAP Boulevard setup, which would be like some sort of parabolic into the day one VWAP, which would be like $10. So if I were to set a price order at like 8 or 9, that'd be the extent of my work. And then, in a week, in a month, if I see that price alert hit at $8 or $9, I know it's running into recent overhead resistance that you get that gap short setup. And now with overhead resistance, the odds are much more on your side. So in terms of getting long, not really a huge interest for me there. What's going on, mister? Tina, how's it going? How's it going? Glad to see you're still around, mister. Last time we talked was a bit of a tough time trying to find your way out there, so I hope you're doing okay. And then in terms of watches for tomorrow, or let alone the rest of the week, Run, this one here was on the watch list yesterday, was looking for that 1180s to 1220s gap and parabolic, and pretty much played out perfectly. We get that parabolic. I short the first candle to make a new low and stop out through highs. And then we get this pullback level here in the 1290s. Once it breaks and bounces, it's hard to tell the action on this candle, but it broke, bounced, and then stuffed. So I shorted that bounce. Again, risking towards highs once we got this failed follow through. And then we get this little bounce that fails here. So I scale and use that failed fall through 1290 as a guide, which ultimately holds the prior key level of 1250. So size down, it comes down and tests 1250. So I hit it again and it held. So I size right back down. Then we get this wick right through. So I shorted it and then it held. So I covered, had a small piece left and took that one off through the prior highs. Same thing here, it was coming down, test, 1250, and then held. So I took that one off again. And then in the afternoon, I had some price alerts set to push to my phone. And we got that break here at the 1250s. By the time I got to my computer, I was already in the 1240s. So I started leaning that 1250 break, 1240 lower highs, and fades off very nicely into close. And I'm still holding a little bit bigger than a 1 hour position on this one. By the time I scaled in, I just kind of kept adding it. You can see a few more candles there. But 1250s was short it using 1250s as a guide. Ultimately would have stopped it all out over 1290s. But I made a post on Twitter. I can find it. Let me see. Let me find it here. I'll grab a link. Copy link. I'll post this in the chat. Come on. Copy link. There we go. Posted a link there in chat. So basically what I said was in a Discord with a few friends. And I was talking in Investors Underground all morning. Someone had reached out in the lounge and said that they appreciated my walkthrough on how I was trading Run, which was right around here. But once I was off desk past 11, I wasn't trading it. So I couldn't update in Investors Underground. But while I was mobile, so at 7:30 Pacific, which was 10:30 market time, right around here when I was taking this trade, a friend asked me what I was looking to do on Run, basically. So I said I can keep a starter on this for as long as I want while it's in this 1250 to 1320. This is just a big channel. The farther you zoom out time frame wise, the more obvious this channel is. So I said I can keep a starter on as long as I want within this chop between 1250 and 1320. Once 1250 breaks and becomes the top, I'd add, and as long as it doesn't reclaim 1250, which in brackets 1250 starts to act as support again, is what I deem to be reclaim. So once it breaks 1250 and becomes a top, I add, and as long as it doesn't reclaim 1250, I can use 1250 as a guide for size and scale into that winner and start to really build a position. And that's pretty much to a T how I played it. Keep a starter on. Once it fails 1250, scale into that. And once it can't reclaim 1250, continue to add and use 1250s as a guide. So it becomes a really nice risk-reward situation when you're in 1240, can risk over under 1250. So maybe you'd stop 60, 70. So maybe you're risking 20 cents, 25 cents. But now you're up 50, 60 cents. So in this trade in an hour, you're already up 2-1, and I'm currently swinging this position. So it's a dynamic way for me to scale into a winner while keeping a dollar risk the same. So I posted that on Twitter. You guys can click on that link there and read it for yourself. But it's pretty much what I said. And I had another tweet on my page this evening showing my comments on a SST and taking a screenshot from that Sunday scan walkthrough. So anyways, Run setting up really nicely. I think this does favor a gap down, and I think a situation where I can win or win more, basically. If this is red and holding red, it's a first red day setup. I've still got plenty of room down to the 4 EMA, sitting at 1020 right now. By the time it gaps tomorrow, probably somewhere around 1080s would be a goal of mine. So as long as this stays red, interested in pops, look to scale into that winner and really try to multiply that R. And then a few other multi-day runners, same chart setup, different price range, might fit other traders, different personalities, but this one here up from 2 to 350, blowing out the big picture daily highs. This one is also up on earnings, but big picture, multi-day run, volume starting to speed up, and this sideways level here at basically $3. Can draw that to keep in mind for tomorrow. Ideally, it goes another day. I'd like to see this one, 380s, 420s, and get a similar setup to how Run acted today and get that tomorrow, but we'll see where we're at. ARRY, same thing, $8, sets a support level. Daily continues to speed up. This one here from 5 to 9, setting up pretty well. Daily 4 EMA is sub 7, sitting right around 680s or so. So still some meat on the bone. You can see the volume profile here. Bunch of people in up there. And then FSLR, I traded this one briefly today for a failed follow through setup here. You get this push, lower high, failed follow through under 184.5, short. And then once we start getting new lows, I feel comfortable risking verse 184.5, so I add. And it doesn't, this wick here and save doesn't continue to make new lows and stay heavy. So I covered, and good cover that was because it never looked back. So I will keep this 184.5 level. Let me switch it to a different trend line. So somewhere in here, mid 184s is the failed follow through level, but this daily is definitely speeding up. And volume-wise is definitely expanding. So with the gap, I thought we had odds favoring a pullback, but still keeping it on watch for tomorrow or the rest of the week, whatever day that comes. UNH, that thing's getting smoked. SMCI ripping. That is insane. That is insane. GRR, let's see where that one is. Still uptrending. USAR under 910. Where's my daily bars? That's weird. That's weird. But yeah, these multi-day runners will be my my watches going into tomorrow. Good, recovering well actually. We'll let you know all about it in the coming weeks. Sounds good? Sounds good. Just checking in. I've had plenty of traders that I've chatted with over the years that are no longer around, either blew up accounts or have gone through emotional draining long durations and just given up. People that have run out of runway, whether they didn't save enough, tried to quit their job ahead of time, any sort of that. But a lot of traders I've talked with that are no longer around for a number of reasons. Unfortunate, but it's typically the way the industry goes. If you last longer than a year, you're already in the majority. And if you're around for 4 or 5 years, you're in the large majority. And if you're around for 8 to 10 years, I think you're going to pick up something. You might not be, like, I think anyone can make money trading. My opinion, I think anyone can do it. Just to a matter of what scale. Are you going to make $50 a day, $100 a day? Are you going to make 50K a day, 100K a day, or anywhere in between? And I think that comes down to personality, risk tolerance. Maybe you're a swing trader. Maybe you're a day trader, small cap, large cap, options. Maybe you're an investor. Maybe this day-to-day action isn't very good, but you find undervalued companies that you can hold for a few months to a few years and make some money that way. I think once you're around long enough, I think you'll get in where you fit in and figure that out. But just keeping that runway alive while you're in that learning curve. I can't believe, like, UNH, even like the daily is like insane. That's a big base to break under. That's funny. That's where it pulled back to. Decent little short setup under like 440-ish. Right in here. I don't really know what it looked like. Straight down off the open, that entry would have been risking maybe $15 a share. A little bounce might have been a bit tough to hold through, but would have come back to your entry after being up 20 points. And then after that, right here broke prior day's highs, but continued to fade versus descending moving averages. I didn't really pay much attention to it. I saw this gap down and I didn't really pay much attention to it. Nice fader. Coin, I had mentioned that one with that push through 212 basically would have been the entry, and then you get rewarded with a gap up. I think earnings, you don't, or no, not earnings, I mean S&P edition, which you can't really predict, but would have been tough. But that 212 entry, just crazy. Some of these moves, man, some of these moves are just crazy. What's Palantir been doing? I remember that one was a market leader for a little while. Breaking out. Wonder if any of these long traders, like guys like Ariel or something, I wonder if they were trading this. Where would 125 have got you in? Ooh, that's tough risk reward. Risking $6 a share. No thanks. It didn't even consolidate off the opens. You don't even get like a opening range break really. 1 minute, 2 minutes, already $3 a range in 2 minutes. It's tough to trade. Listening to you is a step in the right direction. There's always something to learn, even by accident. My trading has improved from things learned in this channel. Thank you. Wow. What a compliment, Tina. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm still learning all the time as well. That's why I'm in services like Investors Underground, because I take value from guys like that daily. It's a community to reach out to if I have any questions or people to lean on or that sort of thing. I use Twitter to read stuff from the Short Bear or Kyle. I read a bunch of his stuff a bunch. Nate I interact with almost on the daily, just because he's been in this game for 20 plus years. But yeah, I think there's always something somewhere, something to learn from. IU is phenomenal. Cool. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I've been in a bunch of services, and that's really the main one I stick around in. They're real. They don't sell price alert, trade alerts, and they're not trying to feed you trades. They're trying to teach you how to feed yourself. And I like that. Independent thinkers. That's why I stuck around there. I don't want the guys that, like all the power to someone like Jack Kellogg, but like I like the guy. I stayed at his house back in February. He was gracious enough to let me stay at his house while I was out in Boston, New Hampshire, and very nice guy. I get along with him well. I don't like the whole marketing side of things that go on, like with the Sykes crew and stuff. Just a personal preference. I don't like when Jack makes $1 million in a day and they just start throwing that out to try and get more subs because people think they're going to make $1 million in a day. It's just not going to happen. Like, the people that can make $1 million in a day are the 1% of the 1%. It's like Kyle. He hasn't made $1 million a day, but he makes a great living. He's made multi six figures in a day, but he hasn't made $1 million a day, and he makes a great living. The top 1% earners in America make like $400,000 a year. If you're making $400,000 a year, you're a top 1% earner in one of the richest countries in the world. The top 1% in the world make like $50,000 a year. So just being in these first world countries, you're already in the top 1% earners of the world. And if you're making $400,000, you're already in the top 1% of one of the wealthiest countries. So for you to make $1 million in a day, like, yes, it's possible, and that's what these guys are trying to showcase, but I don't like that little dangling carrot just to get subs. It doesn't sit well with me. But it gets subs, and it gets people to sign up to your service and whatnot. So all the power to them. And like I like Sykes too. I've met him in person, and I got along with him just fine. He's different in person than he is online. He has a business to run, and he's a marketer. And without his marketing, I likely wouldn't have found day trading. I found the stock market. I've gone over that story before, learning through investing through different family members. They were mostly in real estate, but I didn't have the multi-millions when I was starting out to get into real estate deals. So the next best thing that you could get in with lower barrier to entry was the stock market. But I wouldn't have found this day trading thing if it wasn't for Sykes' marketing. When I'm Googling trading penny stocks or trading stocks, and he's the first guy that comes up. So, yeah, that's my rant. I'll never be the flashy, shove your P&L in the face kind of guy. I don't like it from others, so I don't do it to myself. I don't really think it gets you anywhere. I think it's more of an ego thing if you're really ever showing P&L. Some friends and stuff like Nate or Sam or stuff like that, Kyle, a few of the guys that I chat with, I will share P&L, but in the sense of how I traded it. Like, how much I lost on this trade, how much I made on this trade, how much I lost on this trade, and then how much I sized in, how much I was risking once the trade confirmed, and using dollar size and stuff when talking with some guys, or if I'm asking Nate a question, he's open to sharing his share size and P&L with me. I don't share it with anybody else. It's just a mutual respect type thing. But if I ask him, how did you size this, or where was your stop on this, and what were you adding up to, what was your front side position, etc., they'll share it, but it's not out of a point of me trying to figure out how much people make. It's from a perspective of me trying to learn how they get in and out of trades and how they execute on a setup. That's really the only time I share P&L with anybody, but for me to go over a watch list or a trade plan, who cares what I make and who cares what you guys make? We're all here just trying our best and trading opportunities. That's all this is. I think we're looking for opportunities together. If you guys take the trades, great. If I take the trades, great. We're here just trying to make money. So I'll never be that P&L guy. It's a safe space, and that's what IU is. They never flash P&L. It's a process environment, and I like it. They are real. That's an accurate statement. Yes, you betcha. Jeff came in right when I'm ranting. GRYP? Why did someone just mention that? Did they have news or something? Nope. Gappers failed again today. CNSP had a offering mid-morning after the market opened right here with warrants at like $1.14 or something. So they put out an offering 6 minutes after the market opened after being a day one gapper, and that thing just got absolutely smoked. So gappers are starting to work again, not so trappy. People were chasing those with people chasing all those crypto PRs, they likely lost a bunch of money. There's what Dux calls the maximum dollar block. There's like only so much money that retail traders have in hand that they can deploy into the markets. That was why during COVID, the amount of volume that was trading hands was at an all-time high because there was stimulus put into retail's hands, and that was being shoved into the market. So the maximum dollar block in which people could trade was elevated. What's in there now, I think it's forever changed since COVID. It's higher, but it's definitely not at COVID levels. I don't know if the SPY would show it. It's back down, fairly consistent. But in terms of small caps, I'm more referring to, where you'd get like a multi-day runner would go like 10, 20, 30 million, and we're getting tickers that are trading like 1 billion shares in a day. Like the sheer amount of volume being tossed back and forth is crazy. Process over profits mentality is what was the turnaround after 4 years. That's sick. That's awesome. I agree. How are you, Dawson? Finally caught you live after so many months. Appreciate all your videos and for leaving it for people like me to watch it later if we can't watch it live. Nice, Jenica. Cool. No problem. Glad you guys are enjoying them. I always say it, but these help me review as much as some people enjoy watching them. So I will likely continue to do them until I don't see a benefit of them. And I don't see that stopping anytime soon. HCWB also put out an offering today. Really? A midday offering? Let me see. News. HCWB. Today at 8:30 had positive study results. After Hours put out an S1A at 418. I don't think it was an offering. I think it was a registration. 513. Yeah, it was an amendment to a shelf registration. Wasn't an offering. Slight difference. Like CNSP had... so there's probably an offering coming on HCWB. Like you can see on CNSP, they had an S1 on April 14th. They amended that on May 12th, and then did the offering today. So something like HCWB, they had an S1 and then did an amendment today. So there's a possibility there is an offering coming eventually, but not quite yet. Let me see. Your trades show good risk management. Been looking for front side move. Hesitate on ICCT and Mogo today. Yeah, ICCT was a decent setup. I did have this one on watch. I didn't think it would play out in the time frame that I was still going to be on desk, but you can see all of this, tons and tons of resistance. If you zoom to like an intra-daily, you can see like it's going to run into trouble up here, and the manner in which it ran was definitely tough. But you get this 380s top. It doesn't fail to follow through. This little dip and rip candle might have trapped you a little bit, but as long as you short it and stop out a cover, once that failed follow through level doesn't stay heavy. But if you draw that line, and then you're within this channel, 320s to 380s, clears out, sits right back under. This is a possible starter right in here versus high a day. Once it fails under this 320s and starts to act as a top, I don't mind this short. Whether you're covering here or looking for a bigger picture, it tries to reclaim but just can't, sits right back. So that just drawing those key levels of prior support and resistance. Even here, once it broke through highs, it's supported and then failed, retested, and failed. So that failed fall through setup definitely can keep you safe. And was definitely a really nice trader there. Faded down to the twos, well into the twos by end of day. Mogo I didn't watch today because it was a day one runner. That's why. But yeah, big run, big fade, pop and drop. This one I don't see like as high of odds. It's a day one runner, where ICCT was a multi-day runner and a bunch of bag holders. So I think the odds of this one working are a lot better. Very similar intraday setup. but based on the spot in the daily, I think ICCT was a much better, higher grade opportunity. I've seen people bank on Mogo, but it's not my setup. Yeah. Is it just me? There's not a lot of multi-day breakouts. A bunch of multi-day breakouts. Not mm, like like I mentioned on Sunday Scan, the time frame in which they're playing out is a lot broader, where you're not getting the breakout and then day two gap and rip to sell into. Where you get like pony breakthrough 11s that pushes, huge gap down, but maybe didn't break your risk and continues higher. So you get like a double, goes 11 to 21. You had Tesla just recently through 295. That was a nice breakout. You had Coin through the 212s. You've got Palantir just today breaking out through the 125s. But in terms of small caps, I haven't been trading a ton of multi-day breakouts. You had what was that one? Devs right here through those 44s there on Monday? Yeah, I had tried it on Friday and it didn't work. And then there on Monday into close, or into midday into close, it ran. But broke out, and that's probably the most recent one in small cap land through this 44-cent level. Just looking. Other than that, I don't think there was a ton. But yeah, I don't think there was a ton else in terms of multi-day breakouts. There's been a lot more in large caps, which is it's easy to imagine. I mean, when the SPY is doing this, like look at weekly bars, where it just gap. It just continues all the way up. Like since since the fails, like we're right back up 20 bucks off of highs after this thing was like down 25%. So just a crazy quick. These bear markets, they haven't been sustained. The longest one in like 2022 recently. This was nice. It was like some time for PE ratios to catch up, price to catch up, time to get delayed. But these V-shaped recoveries, like in COVID and then just now, there was some tariffs in 2018, right around here, that like V-shaped as well. So it's not super healthy, but it's what's been happening. So large cap breakouts have been working as the SPY continues on highs, but small caps there haven't been a ton. Sustained momentum in small caps. It's been a lot more slow, drawn out moves. Something like ASST, multi-day run, which would typically pull back and then just takes a few days. Pony, once it breaks out, takes a few days. So that's what's been happening. But yeah, my watches will be those multi-day runners I went over into tomorrow. I think FSLR looks pretty decent. I think Airy looks okay. I think Run is probably my main watch. I think this one sets up the best for tomorrow, especially with that 7 to 13. That's like 90%, which is close enough for a large cap. FSLR, this one here up from 120 to 200, close enough for a large cap, especially with that gap and blow off day. And then Airy and MVST are kind of back burner ideas, but same kind of setup. So those would be my watches for tomorrow. Anything else you guys want to touch on quickly? Otherwise, that's all I had planned for this evening. If there's anything else you want to chit-chat about, otherwise we can wrap it up there. Let me know. I'll give it a few seconds. I think there is a slight like 20-30 second delay on this, so I will give it some time. I don't know what the latency is. Like, what is the delay on these YouTube videos? I don't know. I never really looked for it. Do you track setups on Excel? Yep. Yeah, so I've touched on that briefly in some... plug my computer back in again. I have touched on that briefly in some other live streams, where I had for probably the first maybe year and a half, 2 years. It was quite an extended period of time where I was afraid to push the button. For whatever reason, I would watch video lessons, watch webinars, and then and this would be like daily for like a year or two. And then I would see these setups like multi-day runners start to play out, and I'd see a first red day, or I'd see a morning panic dip buy, or I'd see a multi-day breakout, and I couldn't push the trigger. It was a fear of losing. I didn't like being wrong. I was a math guy, and the thought of 2 plus 2 needs to equal 4. And in the stock market, you can do everything right and still lose money because you're playing a game of probabilities. It's not a 2 plus 2 equals 4. It changes. And I couldn't get that through my head. And the way around that was I saw it would work in video lessons, but I needed numbers. I was a math guy. So I needed to track setups in Excel, and that was my way around it. I did it for a few years, where I'd put sub 300 mil market cap breakouts with no overhead resistance within 100% and no overhead resistance within the last year. Those ones worked the best. They had like a 50% win rate, but the risk reward on them was great. First green day bounces, if they run 200-300%, have at least a day and a half of fade with sustained dollar volume requirement on the backside, those ones tend to bounce more times than not. With first red days, extension from a 10-20 moving average, first time going red has like a 70% win rate. Pullbacks to like a daily 4 EMA has like a 70-80% hit rate on the backside. So I needed stats staring me in the face that tell me you're okay to take this trade, and if you take it 100 times, you're going to win 80 of those times. And I needed that number in my head for me to start pulling the trigger and clicking those buttons, because it was hard for me otherwise. So yes, I do track. At this point, like what I've been doing for the last probably 2 years is I haven't so much back tested and tracked setups, because I have, I don't know, maybe probably like 5 or 6 setups that I'm pretty good at trading, but I probably trade, I don't know, maybe 12 setups. So at this point, I just track my personal performance and categorize them by setup, so I can see what's working, where I'm succeeding, where I'm failing, and start to do more of what's working and that sort of thing in different market environments. But so that's more my tracking now. But in the beginning, I did have to back test and try and get some stats behind that. I've never used any software. I've always used Excel and haven't used any scrapers or programming like coding stuff. It's been all manual entry, pull up end of day data and just enter high a day, $1, low a day, 80 cents, blah, 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 blah. And I just type it. Probably the stupidest way of doing it, but I am not tech savvy. And if you want it bad enough, you figure out a way to do it. And that was my way of doing it. And I think that's edge. You know, how many people want to sit there and manually enter numbers into an Excel sheet? I don't think many. So I think that's edge, doing things other people won't. Good question. Good question. Anything else? Or what do you guys say? You want to wrap it up there? We're closing it up right around the time that I usually start, so that's nice. You betcha. N. Thanks. Thank you. No problem, Jeff. Alrighty. Thank yous rolling in. So I will wrap it up there. And yeah, take it easy, guys. Trade them well. See some of you in IU. The rest of you, I'll see you on the next watch list. Peace.